Oh, we're live. Oh, we're live. We are live. Ali, I don't know if you want to move, darling, because I can't see you, so you're not going to be able to see me.
I'll squiggle around.
Right, okay. Hello and welcome from snowy Skye. Just wait for people to join. Okay, so thank you to everyone who's joined us online for the last few days. We are on day 3. We've worked with the mother and the father half. We're going to finish the father today and touch a bit more on victim and perpetrator, shame, what's holding us back. And tomorrow we'll be looking at pleasure. Apologies yesterday for going offline. We had a technical difficulty where the laptop ran out of battery and we didn't have an extension cable. So thank you to everyone that was there, and then we just disappeared. Sorry for that. Okay, so I'm going to ask us all, first of all, just to close our eyes and bring us into the space a bit differently today. So just closing your eyes and taking a deep breath, and we're going to connect in with that father energy, that great father energy, that masculine. So just breathing and deepening, bless you, deepening into your chair or whatever is supporting you right now. Just breathing and each exhale, deepening, relaxing, and just notice where your body's holding tension, muscles, just softening. And let every inhale drop with the exhale, and imagine that the space around you is just clearing. With that exhale, it's just blowing away anything that's lingering around you in your energetic space, anything that's just not relevant for right now or maybe at all. It's just lingering. Any thoughts or worries, plans, niggles of any kind, just breathe in and then exhale that space around you where everything is just clear. And from that clear space, I invite you to receive the energy of these mountains. And for all those online, we'll send you we are surrounded by mountains on all sides. We'll send you this energy. Receive. And feel that going into your cells. And feel a resonance within you that knows how it feels to be that mountain. Unmovable, grounded, solid, strong, important, needed, helpful. Just there, continuously there. Feel the energy of every rock, the shingle, the earth, the density, and the depth, deeper than we can see or imagine. And know that part of yourself. Maybe you did not receive that energy from your father or your grandfather or your great-grandfather. Maybe hasn't been known for so many generations, but somewhere it was known. And if not in the human form, these mountains are our ancestors. The rocks and the stone people. And just fill yourself up on the power of these lands, of that mountain energy, of that father, grandfather energy, solid and strong, with nothing to prove and nowhere to go. And let us give thanks to the mountains that hold us all across the world, to the fathers and the grandfathers, to the great masculine and the masculine within all of us. And just bring all of that into your heart space and lock it in. And whenever you need that, you know it's there. And in your own time, taking whatever else you need and coming back to this room, to this moment. Beautiful. Okay, so I'll invite you. How many? 1, 2. Perfect. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll look at that little guardian angel white feather right there. Okay, so we will go into pairs. Try and have a different partner from the one you had for the mother. And people at home or watching on replay, again, I'll guide you through how you can do this. So here are the fabrics. Take one each. Find a partner. Find a space. So people at home, we're going to be giving back and receiving from the Father now. And you can do this either alone. If you're working alone, you can visualize and go through what I'm guiding you to say. I hope you can hear me at this moment. Otherwise, you can do this with a partner, the same as we're doing here.
A beautiful one.
They're all come from masculine.
Got pink.
Yeah.
Okay, standing up. Standing up and facing your partner.
This is such a process. People are working for you and someone will be saying, who's not got that?
We're together. You guys.
Have I miscounted? Maybe I counted Lily up. She's left. Okay. It takes people a long time to just find a partner and stand in front of them for some reason. I don't know why it takes so long always. Okay, so finding your partner. Guys, we've got people online. So let's say, Standing up and facing your partner. Has everyone got a partner? Yes. Excellent. Okay. So take a deep breath and come in. Decide who's going first, who will be the client, and the other person is going to be their father. So if you're at home working alone, just close your eyes and visualize. And if you aren't able to visualize, maybe you want to take a photograph of your father. Okay. So take a deep breath, please, and drop down from your head, from your thoughts, from your mind, into your physical body. Bring your attention to your heart rate, your heartbeat, your breath, and start to notice the sensations in your body. And opening your eyes and facing your father. Notice if it's comfortable to make eye contact. Are your eyes meeting? Are they looking elsewhere? Do you feel big or small? Do you feel any love, any fear, any expectations, any pity, resentment, or any emotion? Just notice. There is no right or wrong, and we're not fixing anything, we're just noticing. And tell him, you are my father.
You are my father.
And give him his full name. You are
Edwin Lloyd Hughes.
And take a deep breath. I am your son or daughter. You gave me life. And I love you. And notice what happens when you say that, if it's fully true, partly true, hard to say. And always feel free to speak in your own language. Show him your fabric. This is what I carry for you. And just notice what happens in your cells. Look at what you're carrying. It's holding me back. This is none of us knowing the place of the Father. These are the expectations of your role that have caused us both to suffer. This is your absence. This is me needing something more. This is me looking for that elsewhere. This is the idea of safety. And protection. And unsafety. This is a role that you could never fulfill. The expectation of the father, of the man, provider and protector. This is not being able to cry. This is having to be strong and to do and to keep doing. This is the idea of success. This is anger and aggression. And the inability to communicate softly and gently from the heart. This is trying to please you. This is my unworthiness. This is never really knowing you. And if there's anything else that you want to put into that, that's personal, please do. Any behaviors from him or any needs or anything that's just holding you back. This is you not being allowed to be the wholeness of you. And all the impact that that had on me. And all that I still carry. With love, I give it back to you. Father, please tell your child, leave that with me. Child, please bow to your father and say thank you for my life. You came first. Father, hold up your gift. And tell them, I am your father. And you are my daughter or son. I gave you life. And I love you. And I don't want you to carry that. I am the big one. All of my fears, my own restrictions, my sadness, pain, and suffering. Leave it with me. Leave your pity and resentment, anger, blame, sadness. Leave it with me, because you are worthy of a new story. This is my gift, where the masculine has a place of wholeness and greatness in the healthiest way. This is knowing how to act and to achieve without battle. How to speak to hold and to do from a heart space. This is the masculine in you and all of your relationships in balance. No more expectations or stereotypes. You are the little one. Let me stand behind you and support you. You take this gift and do it in a way that I could not. Don't look for me anywhere else. Take my gifts and leave the rest with me. Receive this gift from your Father and notice how it feels in your body, in your cells. Breathe it in and let it absorb. Freedom from this old story for so many generations. Keep breathing and feeling. And we'll leave that there. Wow, the energy in this room, guys, is so big. It's pure. If you want to hug your partner, you're welcome. Also notice, how was it to be father? How was it to receive the burden? And how was it to give the gift? Lots of tears. Look at this mountain. I wish I could show the people the mountain, but it's just going to be. There's Swanee. It's just light. I think we can get this one maybe. Here's one. Oh yeah. Maybe we can get you this one. Okay, swapping around, guys. Oops. No, the light. No, sorry. I tried. Okay. So swapping over. If you're doing this at home alone, you might want to do it and be father now. Feel what it's like to be your own father, also the father, all the fathers. Okay. So standing up, facing your partner, taking a deep breath, letting go of thoughts, letting go of chats, letting go of everything that's not relevant right now. Take a deep breath, exhale into your body. Opening your eyes and facing your father. Notice what happens in your body. Maybe there's expansion, maybe there's contraction, maybe there's a stiffening or a softening or heaviness. Or notice where your eyes are. Notice if there's a wanting or a waiting or a resignation. And tell him, you are my father, and give him his full name. I am your daughter or son. You gave me life. And I love you. And notice what happens when you say that. And there's nothing to change. No, I'm sorry, I'm letting you know there's nothing to change. If whether you fully love him, don't love him, half love him, there's nothing to change in that. We're just watching and observing. Show him this is what I carry for you. These are your stories. And the stories of our ancestors. This is what holds me back. It's heavy.
It is heavy.
And it's sad. This is my suffering. Can you look at it, what you're holding in your hand? Just keep looking at it. Notice what happens in your body when you look at your own suffering. And the weight of that. Tell him this is what I've chosen to carry. And somehow it has served me. But it's too heavy for me now. And I'm ready to give it back. This is the stereotype of the masculine. Of the father who must be protector and provider. Who must be present and also provide. Who must hold emotions And manage his own. This is you never being in your wholeness. This is the heaviness of generations of men trapped. This is anger and aggression, violence and abuse, poor communication, humiliation, power over, taking, crushing, possessing. This is not knowing softness. Healthy softness. This is your absence. And anything else that you want to put into that that's personal. These are my judgments of you. This is control and abandonment. This is looking for you in the wrong places. The idea of safety and unsafety given by another. I'm the little one. So I'll give this to you. Father, tell your child, leave that with me. Nice. Show your child the gift. I am the big one. And you are the little one. I am your father. And you are my child. And nothing will change that. I will always be your father. This is my gift I could not give to you. This is a healthy masculine. This is knowing how to take action without battle. To speak, to be assertive, to have boundaries, to support and hold and protect from a heart space through desire rather than duty. This is that masculine within you and all of your relationships. This is freedom from expectations and old stories of blame and should haves. This is the ability to listen. because you want to. This is the joy of communicating. Of your voice being heard. And for you hearing others. This is learning from others. Safety in vulnerability. Power in gentleness. This is being the mountain. Please do this in a new way. In a way that I could not. It's safe for you. And you're in a new time. Let me stand behind you and support you. Take my gifts and leave the rest with me. Receive the gift from your Father and bow to him and tell him thank you for my life. Hold that gift and breathe that in. Everything he just gave you from the ancients. And feel it vibrating in your cells, in your body. Feel the mountains cheering. If you want to hug your partner, you can. You don't have to.
Don't bother.
Thank you very much, everyone. So everyone at home will just give you a few minutes to breathe and reset. We've got some alarm keeps coming on.
Oh yeah.
Some tears and hugs and all sorts of good things happening here. Okay, guys, who can tell me, did they have any feelings as the father that they didn't expect? Or anything that was interesting?
I found it interesting to Skye for Dad, because I mean I was always aware of his like feminine side, but it felt really like magical, like a real, and also it reminded me that I actually felt bigger than him a lot of the time. So it was almost like this. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a baby pink as well, isn't
It's
it?
basically, we were giggling when I mean, yeah, it's control. This kind of thing. It was like, but it was, where I looked at that in him, but it was this pinkness that was like, it was actually quite joyful, so. But I know there were other aspects that I did know about in his life that weren't joyful. But that's what came through just then. So that was interesting.
Did anyone, when they were being the other person's father, feel anything interesting that they wouldn't have expected, or that they felt how Was there any openness for it to be acknowledged? Did you feel guilty? Did you feel happier when you received the burden back? What did you feel?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact language, but it was definitely ones where it's like, yeah, I feel bad for that.
Yeah.
Taking responsibility for that.
Yeah. So again, you see the same as with the mother, and the same as with every ancestor in every constellation, regardless of however they've behaved in life, they want that burden off of you. They do not want you to carry it. It doesn't matter what's happened to them, what their story is, they just don't want you to suffer. So it makes sense, right? We're just going about our lives suffering, carrying their stories, but actually, and then resenting them. But actually, they want it back. They don't want to carry it. It's just been like a whole big mistake, a whole big misunderstanding.
That's gone way too far.
Like, yeah.
Way too far.
Like, actually, part of us wants to carry that. We've co-created the whole situation. They couldn't carry their own burden. We came in, picked it up, carried it, resented them, suffered, didn't stop them from suffering. They still suffered even though we carried the burden for them, or part of it. So actually, we've not really helped in any way. We've just doubled the suffering. So it's really on us. And if everyone's waiting for their parent to change or to stop suffering so that we can stop suffering, it doesn't work like that. We are the change. We have to give it back. We have to put it down. We have to let it go. Otherwise, everyone keeps suffering. Yeah. Just let it go, or put it on the table and bring awareness to it so that it can go in its own time, organically. Once you're acknowledging what you're carrying, and for me, the secret was, for a long time, I could see what I was carrying, but I still could not let go of the resentment. Until, and it slowly trickled in. Actually, it's only me that can do anything. Like, I have to accept my parent as they are with all that happened, and I have to accept that even although those things that took place were not okay from a parent to a child situation, you can't undo it, and you can't be a victim, because actually all those times that I thought I shouldn't have had to do that. I should not at that age have had to be responsible for this and this and this and this and this and that is not okay. And no. Actually, I was never once asked to do that. But then also I was young, I was the oldest, and there are responsibilities that fall to you, and you do pick them up. It's human nature. But I was never categorically asked. So then, like, shit, it's harder to stay angry and resentful when you're like, well, actually, you chose that. Like, no. So then you have to sit in that ickiness for a while until then you're like super down on yours. Fuck, I chose it. I'm a nightmare. I'm a disaster. I'm rubbish at everything. Now I'm in double suffering because I've still got the same suffering as before, but now I've added to it because now I'm just crap at everything because I've chosen the suffering. So yeah, go through that until naturally it starts. So there's no fault, and there doesn't need to be suffering. Everyone suffered, and when we unite in our suffering, it goes. Or it doesn't hurt, it changes, it doesn't go, it changes. It's not suffering anymore, it's just there.
I wouldn't, like, because I was laughing, I wonder whether, because I have done work with my father's energy before, and I suppose I've released quite a lot, but I also was aware that it might have been nervous laughter that was just like, didn't have a way of expressing, because there were elements of him that would get angry as well. And in that constellation, I couldn't look at those you know, he had like, there was two aspects to him. One was frustrated and angry and couldn't communicate, and the other was like really beautifully creative and yeah, loving but quite feminine, you know, in his ways sometimes, not always, but you know, I think I was focusing on that, and it's interesting to me that I couldn't focus on like the bad temper and the like sometimes his behaviour was like completely.
Well, I'd sit with that because that's why I asked, look at what you're holding.
Yeah.
Like really look at it, because it was like there wasn't an ability to connect with your own suffering.
Yeah.
Because that's what you were
I
holding.
couldn't connect with the anger part of it because that's just come up now, and I'm just like, you've got really fucking bad temper sometimes because he couldn't express, he had no way of
Maybe you have to
understanding.
let it go there.
Hey, yeah, well, that's
So
what
don't resurrect
Yeah.
it. Is that, I feel like I've done a lot of maybe dealt with it because all I felt was love for him today.
yeah, me
He's
too.
passed,
Yeah.
so it was difficult to do the work when he passed because you feel guilty, don't you? Maybe he's listening.
No.
But then I did go through it, but it was more of a yes, she's still here, and I guess Mum suffered too with anger. And I think it was more that, whereas I've forgiven Dad a long time ago because it was just always, it was just the pressure and anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Anyone else?
It felt really good because we'd spoken, because of what we'd spoken of yesterday. It felt so good to take it back. Like, just give me it.
To take the gift, or as the father to take the burden?
Let's take the burden.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
But then I had a really good dad, and then I felt really guilty for having a really good dad. Well, I do have a really good dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The gift. Mhm. Okay, brilliant. So now we are going to be looking at victim-perpetrator dynamics. So we've already touched on it quite a bit yesterday. This really, for me, is the new story. This really is the... You right? Yeah.
Organised.
Lilia's here. So this for me is how Constellations links into the new story, how we're going forward, is this idea of just humans, we're just humans. And for us all to be humans and equal in that, we have to dissolve this idea of right doing and wrong doing, or in separation, and victims and perpetrators. So again, we talked yesterday about it's not that everyone can just do whatever they like with no consequences. There are always consequences. So remember on the first day, the collective conscience I was talking about. So the collective conscience wants everyone to have their place regardless of their actions. The collective conscience of your family system remembers everything and will try for whoever's been excluded to be seen. So the fractals of that will keep appearing through others who will pick it up. So perpetrators cannot just be excluded. So do you remember from what you wrote down on the first day about all these possible scenarios of where the attention might be going? In that, were there perpetrators? Were there victims? I don't know if you still got the page handy.
Should we use Greek again?
Yeah. Of course. It's my favourite hobby.
I forgot what you were doing.
Anyone that got anything that jumps out, victim or perpetrator? Well, we saw Uncle, what was his name? I've forgotten. Kerry, what's your uncle's name? Ian?
Oh,
Peter. Uncle Peter was a victim.
Right,
Yeah. Mum was a victim.
yeah.
because she lost her brother. Anyone else got anything?
For me, it's always about letting go of the allopathic system as the perpetrator. Because I know that most people that are in that are not, but I have a real charge with that. That I perceived a lot of my sadness last year was what my friend allowed to be done to him. And we watched the suffer, and I really had to still have that. And definitely need to let that go.
So when we do constellations, like I was talking about yesterday, we've looked at apartheid or the Holocaust, and these are real extreme examples of. So if you were to look at Western medicine or big pharma or the puppeteers, however you wanted to wreck them, we've had like Israel, we've had King David, I can't even remember. We've had all sorts, like real historical Jesus, all sorts in constellations, and it's always the same. The energy of the perpetrator, even although we can see clearly, I don't think anyone in this room would disagree that there's a big agenda and it's money driven and all the rest of it. But even those that represent the head of the agenda are absolutely clear that they're doing the right thing. And you might say, but people are dying. But to them, it's balanced somehow. Something is making that right inside their head and inside their heart. Something is making that right. The same as incest. Something is making, every time you look at it in a constellation, something is making it right to that person. Like, this is love.
Well, Bill Gates, it kind of reminds me of my dad visually. When I would watch him and look and think, are you as evil as I think you are? Or do you genuinely believe you know better than us and that you're doing the right thing? Did you So.
And it might be, yes, it might be like complete delusion, or it might be, no, I'm aware, but this is
For the greater good.
This is for the greater good, and people that do have to die, or whatever it is. Like if you put rep Nazi soldiers, some of them would be like, oof, I have some kind of, but I'm trapped in it, and some of them would tell you, no, absolutely believe in this cause. Some soldiers that go to it's the same. You put France versus Germany, whatever, it's like so no, I have to kill him for so that there's every single perpetrator, even heads of paedophile rings, child trafficking, they're disconnected from the humanity. They're disconnected from the emotions of the situation for some reason within them.
My friend ran into Boots and started shouting at the woman that was doing the COVID vaccines because she was very badly damaged. What are you doing? These vaccines are killing people. Stop giving them to them. And the woman said, I've got a mortgage to pay.
Yeah. So everyone that we see as a perpetrator, no matter if it's a trivial thing that's not right or a real big thing, they will have balanced out within them. And even the energies that I've seen where they'll go, okay, now I'm a bit guilty. They still are like, well, I'm trying to think of, I've had energies, for example, where it's just like serial sexual abuse. And it started off as, well, it wasn't really as bad as it seemed, but they were abused, so this is what they knew to be love, and that's how it started. And then they basically grew into a monster that was just, there was one, they were just like killing animals and all sorts, just like, and at that point they were like, I am raving mad, but I have no pathway to get back. So either I kill myself or I just keep going in this like absolute path of destruction.
So it's like justification.
Or trapped.
Carry on, otherwise.
There's always a justification no matter what the perpetrator energy is. Like in all the constellations I've ever seen, no matter what the perpetrator energy is, it's always justified within them. And the healing movement is, again, as we talked about before, is to show them truth, consciousness, whatever the highest resource is, to see how far away they've moved from their wholeness without realizing it. And then that's when the realization comes in and remorse comes in. But there's nobody that's actually ever just like, I'm just going to fuck everyone up just because I can. It's not usually ever that. There's fear driving it somewhere, or convinced that it's for the greater good, as you say. So so trying to speak to someone, like when you put these two reps and they have a conversation, you'd be there all day long at a stalemate because they're completely convinced. Both. Can't you see this is wrong? Just I hear words. I can't. There's nothing happening.
Humanity's been taken away.
Yeah, exactly. So they're also suffering because they're far away from their wholeness. But you know, like we can't come in and say, well, actually listen to me and I'll get you back to your wholeness. That's not ever going to happen. But if we stop seeing them as a perpetrator, we start to realize that we're all suffering. And actually that perpetrator's suffering as well. So I'm going to change my tack here. I'm not going to really just start abusing and shouting and making them the baddie. So when we see a healing movement happen, what then happens is the perpetrator goes, okay, it's like a veil's lifted, and then they feel remorse. Then they can really go into a spiral of shame depending on the circumstances. But the way that we end it is by them being empowered enough to hold the consequences of their actions with dignity. And that's what I was talking about yesterday. So whatever this perpetration has been, that's theirs. And if we continue on with this, that was wrong, that was wrong, that was wrong, that was wrong, they get small. They've been big and they'll get small, and then the victim will be big, and then they've just swapped roles. So this is why we don't work with forgiveness. Because say someone's been sexually abused, and then there's the abuser, like this, and this one's really small, and this one. And we do this healing movement, and they realize, and they become remorseful. And I'm sorry. And this one goes, well, I'll forgive you or I won't forgive you. And we've got a victim. Who's ever experienced that? Someone's been really out of order, and then you highlight that to them, and suddenly they're like, oh God. And then they become the victim.
Yeah.
It's like, that used to happen with my mum all the time. I'd be like, Mum, do you realise that when we were 12, you did this? And she'd go, oh, well, I suppose I'm just the worst mum in the world then.
Oh.
And then she'd go into this, like, oh my God, how did that just flip? Actually.
Keep quiet for
Or
quite
if she admitted it, then you would start to feel bad, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. That's why we don't want to give that burden back.
Yeah.
We don't ever want to give that burden back.
Accept it, it's annoying as well.
Exactly. So you're just stuck with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Let it go.
So can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So I was just thinking through this. So with my family, my dad was born 46, Germany. His dad fought in the war on the Nazi side. His grandparents were big Nazi supporters. So the entire nation is in perpetrator mode.
Mm-hmm.
We're going through the Nuremberg trials. The entire world is telling us, you guys are
The worst.
the worst.
Mm-hmm.
His parents, from what I understand, never really like accepted the blame. I remember my grandmother saying, "Oh no, Hitler did good things. He built the Autobahn. He brought us back to work." So there was just never this
Wow, interesting.
like
Yeah.
full acceptance of, no, that was actually shit. Partially victims, right? That's what we had to do.
Yeah.
So, and that was the energy in the entire nation, right? I mean, we had some groups that we know about, Schindler, like the White Rose Resistance. There was some resistance, but generally,
Yes.
so. And when I now look at my dad, he very big, very powerful, very strong, but never was able to verbally accept his own role, like in my parents' marriage. So, like, how does that energy play out? I mean, both of my parents, right? My mother was born 44. Her stepdad, prisoner of war in France, right? Her mom, when I talked to my grandmother, did you not notice? Did you not see? Oh, well, yeah, there was a Jewish family, and then they just disappeared, but we just went on with our lives. And right, so, and then my mother's story is all about, oh, we just put that under the carpet. We don't talk about that. Like, but how does that, like, what do you do with that?
Well, it depends how it presents. It's like we talked about on the first day. I could have a grandfather in the war who killed people and was okay with that. Frankie's got a grandfather who killed people who wasn't okay with that. It's going to present further down the line because it's unresolved. In my system, not so much. So it's hard to know because these facts that you've just shared now, they're massive. And on paper, you could say, whoa, that's going to have a massive impact. But nobody actually knows how they felt. If they were really okay with what was happening, it might be that the shame, it might not be ancestral shame, it might just be generational shame down the line where you go, whoa, my ancestors were Nazis. Or maybe not. But for the, whilst they were in it, we just don't know. We don't know unless something's presenting in your system. We open a constellation and it would show, yeah, there's like everyone's hating on. It might be that that's why your dad couldn't step into his power, or it might be something else. So we just never know. We could have real big T traumas in the family system that actually don't link to things. We never ever know. We can't, because we can't know. We can't do it up here. But it's possible / probable that it would have an impact because it is such a big thing. But you never know.
It's like Pablo Escobar, though, isn't it? You know, he built schools, gave lots of money to the, I mean, he bribed people, right? He was an evil man. But when you look at actually what he did, and it's the same thing within the country. There was a lot of people really supported him and looked out for him. They didn't want the Americans to catch him or the police to catch him, you know, because
it's like
He
Franco.
wants a charity.
aha.
Because he wanted to be president.
So it's interesting.
Well, yeah, this keeps going off.
I
Clock. I don't know
tried to
if I put
the
stop session, will it
notifications.
turn us off?
No, just stop live. As long as it's not in the go live, but you'll be fine.
Okay. So yeah, thanks, Swanee. The thing is, like, we can have huge, big perpetrator energy, but we just don't know what dots are going to link to what. So I'm going to invite you to. Well, actually, let's voice it if anyone's comfortable to do that. What is a scenario for you? You might have done work on it already, you might not, but what's a scenario for you where you feel victimized and someone else is the perpetrator? Some injustice. Sexual abuse is an obvious one, and we're going to look at that afterwards. Nobody in the room has ever been victimised by anything. Wow! Healing retreat finished. Yes, darling.
So I grew up in New Zealand, and my dad was a very misogynistic, very, the product of a very patriarchal society. And so my whole life has been fighting for the right to be a girl, and I remember just untold examples of me being put down because I'm a girl and being excluded because of my sex. And when my youngest daughter, Liv, who used to dress as Batman and, really great at football and was just such a bright spark, started school. And she's really good at football, and the week before she started school, she won the football cup in her little 4 and 5-year-old team. And she got on her first day of school. She went to play football at lunchtime, and the boys said to her, the year 1 and year 2 boys said to the reception, "You can't play because you're a girl." And when she came home and told me that, fuck off, parents were pushed so badly, I said, "You go back and you tell them that you're good at football and you're going to play." And the next day she did, and they didn't think, I'm going to get her on the edge. And so I feel that, my whole life has been, when I was working in television and advertising things, I was described like I was a man in a skirt, because I had to give it as good as I got it hard. I had to be such a masculine energy. It's very ironic now that I work in women's health, around pelvic health and stuff, and such an advocate for women. And it's funny how, so my story is very much that injustice of power over, and then trying to rebalance that injustice. So that's been my experience.
Lovely, thank you for sharing. When we're going to do a breakout, and if you want to use that example, you would just have someone representing that energy, or if you want, you can have a particular example of one particular moment within that whole big story of, I don't know, some meeting when somebody said something to you and you just, or some scenario, if you want it to be an actual person to represent the whole story. Because we're going to dialogue it, but it can also be the thing as a whole. It's up to you. Anyone else got an example?
That story is so powerful to me, because that is like a whole generation of misled individuals to create a link of humans to stop somebody playing a game. A child. Exactly. Where they all come from to join that link, to do that. What fear? She might show us up. She might be better than us. We can't do that. Where did they get that? That's what we're dealing with as men. When it's like, what does man have? That's what I didn't have the father. I had such an easy life when I think about it. Because the worst thing I can think of being a kid is these two nasty brothers who go around hitting people. And they hit us. We walk past and they smack it in the mouth. Bosh. And my mother was Catholic. Turn the cheek. Don't fight no matter what. You buggered both ways. You couldn't fight back. You couldn't pass them. What do you do? Fight.
You definitely fight back.
Well, I learned that, and later I become very good at karate. And that's part of the thing I think I went to prove that I could actually fight. I'm quite good at it. One day, one of these, but that was my only example of victim perpetrator. They walk past and crack you. You couldn't get away with nothing you could do. That's nothing compared to things like that.
I said this all through my life. I was just like, thank God I'm a white woman.
Well, linking arms and not letting her on the pitch.
Well,
It's similar as saying you've got brown skin, you can't get on the bus, you can't use that toilet, you're not a human.
But this was
Or-
a reception, you know.
Yeah.
She, all her friends were boys. This is the crazy thing. So by the time it was the year 1 and 2 kids who were 5 and 6 and 7.
Yeah.
By that year,
It's deep in,
something
yeah.
had taught them that girls were not as good as boys.
My brothers didn't let us play until that, and when I spoke to one of them particularly, he says, you know, it's like when you didn't get to play because you got hurt. Because they knew their own power and they were powerful. Even at 7, they knew that if I won them.
It might hurt you.
So there was an element of protection for me, and they were nasty. I'm not saying I'm saying in the case of my brothers, like my big brother is a bit of a man. I didn't want him there.
I'm going to bring you all to,
Didn't want
we're looking at victim perpetrator on a bigger scale. I'm going to bring you to a breakup in a relationship. Everyone's had one of those. And your partner, you've been a victim at some point because you've not been heard, you've not been understood, you've been shut down. We've all been victims in lots of ways. Teachers telling you, parents telling you, family members telling you, shut up about the vaccine, you're wrong. Whatever it is, you've been scapegoated, you've been misrepresented, and sometimes it's on a much bigger scale that stays in. I remember when I was 8, the head teacher, so we moved to a small village, and because my dad got browner skin, there was a petition before we moved in to say we don't want them, but we moved in anyway. And
Really?
yeah, it was the 80s, and the school in the village, my mum got called in one day, and there'd been a spate of the girls' toilets being flooded. And so they'd written down, every time someone went to the toilet, they'd written down who went at what time. So my mum got called in, I didn't even get told why. I got pulled into the head teacher's office, who, I've used this word twice this week actually, she was a little spinster, like a real tiny little waspy woman, with like something from a film, you know, like a real stereotype, and really probably quite racist as well, I would imagine. But I don't know why she had it in for me. But she said, we believe that you've flooded these toilets. And I was like, how? She said, well, the only 2 people went to the toilet in the time it was flooded. You and the other one who was in primary 1, so it can't possibly be. I was like, fucking hell, wow. It was not me. And there was just no question of like, did you do this? It was just, it was already decided. And that's why my mum had been called in to witness me now getting into trouble. And it took the breath from me because I just couldn't believe that on all levels, you know, the injustice, but also this is how adults communicate to children. And it was my first kind of like realization of the big bad world. And then a couple of weeks later got called in again because someone had reported me swinging my cat round by the tail, and that broke my heart even more because my cat was my best friend, and like the fact that anyone would swing a cat, and that I was even outside of school time. So like I was like, what's going on here? You know, it was real, and we just had racial abuse my whole life. They said like I won a competition, my name got picked out of a hat, and then they were all saying, oh, it's because they could smell the curry powder off your name and the thing like this. And your dad's got a corner shop, everything, you know, just constant, totally constant. So there's just, it's everywhere, it's rife, it's part of society, it's like, but where does it sit? Where does it sit in your cells? And how do you access it? And how do you let go of that repeating story, that victim story? Because when you fight against it, like a man in a skirt, you're actually not really letting it go. You're just going to the opposite side. So think a bit deeper. Is there anyone that because we're going to work victim perpetrator, all of us, it might be your parent again. Your mum might be the biggest perpetrator. Like,
little things lead to a bigger thing, don't they? The child being accused of flooding the toilets is one thing, but where that story led to is a much bigger thing.
I know, still in therapy it comes up. Like, it's literally and when I have healing sessions, they always say, what happened when you were 8? At the beginning I was like, I don't know, nothing. And then well, you wouldn't remember something like that. It's been, I'm like, that is fucking mad. Like, that actual, like, shock horror is like an imprint in yourselves. Like, this is horrible, and I'm now speechless. Like, and the more I say, it wasn't me, it's like, yeah, it looks like it was you now because you're protesting so much.
Yeah. You buggered if you do, you buggered if you don't. To me, the bullying, the little thing like that, to the cheek, that was all down to religion. Yeah? Because that's what was thrust into my mother, and that's what was thrust in the faith. My mother's faith is massively strong, and I see it, and I get that. But that's where it came from, to the cheek. I don't know, our school was for Catholic school teachers.
So I'm wondering...
Sunday school, at church every Sunday, so if I did anything wrong in school, I was just scared of getting it in on Sunday as well, where my parents and grandparents, my grandfather, and the only conversation I had with him was a backhander because I put my elbows on the table. I remember having a conversation with him. I remember that. Boom! Whack! What can I do? I leave the table, I set the elbow on the table. That was it. Nothing was only little until we could speak.
I'm wondering what was more the perpetrator or the bullies or your mum's religion? No, because like
my
for
reaction
you,
was
because
of the system, the way I was.
Yeah.
Theirs was damaged because some of the things I heard later on was horrendous. They're both dead now. Just these two brothers. But my reaction was how I was brought up. You, my mother, I'd hit him back. It'll all be done with. Yeah. Snip it in the bud, done. But as it was, you know, well, I learned to do the cook for myself. You know, Dave, we used to make a go-kart and go to the train station and pick holiday makers and put the cases on it and take it to their flat. And this lad come in front of me one day and I stood up and I went, fuck off, I'm working. And 2 weeks later, he was, we joined your school, wanted to be the mate. I was like, oh, good for you, you do one. But it had gone then. It took that for me to go off your block. Excuse French.
I can't believe you made a wee business with a go-kart. Holiday.
That's a lot of money then.
Good for you.
You'll be 80 now.
So anyone else got like a ex-partner or a situation where you might be the perpetrator, but when someone sees you as a perpetrator, you then become the victim, don't you? Because you're like, but I haven't done that. And you're like, there's an injustice because they're telling everyone that I'm this and I'm that and the next thing, and you can't.
Maybe there's a way out of it, isn't it? Story to get out, to blind yourself from what you did.
Well, maybe you did it, or maybe you didn't do it, but like say you've had a divorce and the ex-wife's like, oh, he's just this and he's just that and he didn't, and he's like, well, but that's not true for me. Like it's true for you, but it's not true for me. But you've told all of our mutual friends and now everyone just thinks I've done this. So then, even although to her and everyone else he's the perpetrator,
she's better at
he's also victimized in his situation because he's trapped and no one will hear his side and that's it. So you see how easily it interlinks.
When I was at uni, I went to uni dating an Australian, an Australian guy, and it was fine. And I was in Dundee and he was in Aberdeen. And in those days it was phone, phones. You know, he would get a bit funny and distant, and I'd say, look, if you want it to be over, that's fine, let's let it be over, but just tell me, don't piss me off. And so I would get the bus back to Aberdeen, and there wasn't that many pubs in those days, I'd always known who he was, and I'd find him cheap for me, and I'd finish with him. 3 months later, he'd phone me up and say, I'm really sorry, I really miss you, can we try again? Yeah, okay. 5 times I let him do that to me, and that spanned my 5 years at university. And you think, and then I remember the day that I went, no more. And I can still remember exactly where I was when I made that decision. And I think it all stemmed from just never feeling worthy. But you think, Jesus Christ, what an idiot. Imagine letting someone do that to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, so there's a good example. You can work with that. Even though you might have said one day, even Mark's story, you're like, one day you just stood up and said, that's enough. Sometimes that boundary is more of a barrier, and it has to be an exclusion to make it stop. But it doesn't mean necessarily that you can be balanced with, like, I don't know now if there's a charge with him still, as in, like, I'm not saying it affects your life massively, but when you think, if you were to put him in a constellation and look, would the energy be like, oh, hiya, fine? Or would it be no more still? That's not a balanced energy. It's still charged. I'm not saying it's a massive impact on your life in any way.
I think my emotion is just, how could you be so stupid? But I don't actually, it doesn't make me think about it now when he's married, he's got a kid, and that's fine. It doesn't, I don't feel it.
See, I had an example
Stupid.
where I got kicked, where I was really massively betrayed by my partner and one of my really good friends put me out of a business and and I feel like, okay, now with my partner at the time, which would actually be, I feel more of a problem with my friend, because at least in a partnership there's kind of a reason, like, everyone, you trigger each other's wounds and you've got fears and there's more of an understanding. But my friend just threw me under the bus. Like, that was cold. And so for me to think of that, it's like, that's much harder. But even with my partner, if we were to be in a constellation now, even although in my life I feel neutral, there's still, if the energies, I would be a victim in that. I would be smaller energetically, even although it's not huge impact. Like, that situation, it was a very clear perpetrator victim scenario, but then they would say it's the opposite way around as well, so everyone's got their
What
own.
about an alcoholic where the alcoholic is giving you verbal abuse, but you pity them because they've got problems? So are they the perpetrator or the victim?
Perpetrator, really, because you're, even though you, so what we try and do then is, like, like we're saying the other day, bring compassion up here, understanding up here of why people are acting a certain way. But it's like I said, us at this age, we can understand why our parents didn't meet our needs when we were young, but the young part of us still, so there's still a victim in there when you're being verbally abused, even although you've got tools to not get as hurt by it. It's still not okay to be verbally abused. That's not okay. It's not an okay behavior. So even if you can say, well, I know why they're doing it, it doesn't make it okay. So you're still a victim. You're still a victim in that sense of unacceptable behavior.
I'm thinking of, like, a partner who cheated on me, and I went through a massive, like, phase of betrayal. And then I was looking at a thing called radical forgiveness or something, and I dipped into Byron Katie, Is It True? And I was like, and actually it took me a long while to get rid of to neutralize the charge, if you like. But then I started to all the things I was looking for in her, I was actually looking for in myself. And I was like, oh, right, okay, I was expecting that. I had expectations that weren't met. Is that her fault? Not necessarily. That's me. And so over time, I think that was a gradual realization of a shift of perception of what my expectations and wants were, what her actions were. I mean, she actually later on we've become good friends, and she's actually apologised to me since for her part in what that was, whenever that was. But it was at a time where I neutralised, I was neutral by that time with the charge. And it was, I think a lot of it for me was about my perception, just changing my own perception of there's a person, that those actions happen for whatever reason.
Well, that's the healing movement in Constellations, as you know, darling, is that we basically have to let them hold the consequences and we have to take our part in it.
Yeah.
So it's really controversial to say someone who's been sexually abused has co-created that situation. That's quite a hard thing to say.
Mm.
But on some level, can it be true? How helpful would it be if that were true? Because then there's shared responsibility. Not that it was asked for, but somehow the situation has been co-created. The same as a marriage breakdown, the same as a that violent, aggressive behaviour or abuse. It's never to say that there's a right and a wrong. We're not in any way ever saying that these behaviours are natural and normal and fine for humans. They are part of human behaviours and they will be there. But how do we get to the point of saying, well, this is your behaviour. I'm here receiving this because some part of me has chosen that. So I'm going to do my part. I'm not going to, and if I'm feeling unworthy, I'm going to do my part in why I'm feeling unworthy in that relationship. Was it all him for those 5 years that was responsible for being that perpetrator? You've just said you were already like, well, why did I do that for so long? I'm feeling unworthy to be for 5 years taking someone back over and over, So what part can we take and hold? You don't need to know it. You don't need to analyse it. You just need to know that there is a fabric that's yours, and you just take that fabric or a crystal or whatever it is that represents it. You don't have to work it all out. You just know that it's there and let the other person take theirs. And in that moment, you'll come to the right size. You'll both come to the same size. Because actually everyone has a part in everything.
Yeah, if you were there.
And it's exactly, and it's playing something out from your own family system, your own ancestral system. When we do any constellation for a couple or any exchange, you'll have them both facing each other, then turn them around to look at their own family systems, and then show each other, this is what I bring from my family system to this situation. This is what I bring from my family system to this situation. Can you see mine? Yeah. Can you see mine? Yeah. And then something settles.
How can you possibly say if you've got a small child, you're a really small child, and they're abused by a parent, as a parent, how can they possibly bear a responsibility just for existing?
This is why I'm saying it's controversial and it's quite hard for some people to hold that.
I mean, I don't have that as part of my
But
story.
if you believe that the soul chose to come into that family,
Okay.
you wouldn't understand why on earth you would do that. None of us would. But for me, it didn't happen to me, but it happened to somebody close to me. It was the only way I could deal with it, to believe that at some level we came here to experience that story, that narrative. Horrible and horrific as it was. Because if you just, well, for me again, thinking that she was just a victim of that horror, just too painful. There just didn't seem any point in life. Whereas, and again, it's, it's got to be about how it makes you feel, and does it make you stand in your power? It's not that you don't do anything about it, but it's again, it's just, that's what happened.
So whilst you hold pity for anyone, now I'm not in any way saying that a baby that's sexually abused has asked for that or deserves it in any way. What I'm saying is, how do we let that baby hold their destiny with dignity? Because if I pity her or him, I'll keep them small. Not everyone believes in soul choice, soul journeys. It's just a suggestion. When you look in a constellation every single time, that is the healing movement between the two energies, regardless of what they are, is to say, I'll hold my responsibility and I'll let you hold yours. And if that baby was represented, she would want to hold her responsibility. Because if she's like, okay, you did this to me, that's going to keep her trapped and keep her small. For her to say, this was not okay, this is what you took from me, this is my rage, this is my anger, this is my unworthiness, this is all of the suffering that your actions have caused. And I'm going to leave that with you because that was your choice. That allows her to come up to the right size. And this is what I'll hold. Now, we don't need to put words into it. A suggestion is that it might be her sole choice. It might not, but it doesn't need words. It just needs a fabric to represent her part. Because if you don't have a part, no matter what the situation, there can't be balance because you're a system. You're a whole system. If every part's connected, if you don't hold something that's your part in it, you're out. You're pointless. So if that wee baby that's been abused doesn't have a part of some sort to hold responsibility for, just for being, the system isn't complete. So that's the part that they're holding. It's not saying I chose for this to happen to me. It's not saying that these children that are being bombed every day deserve it or have chosen it. It's not to say that any of that's right. But somehow they're there and it's happening. And that's their destiny. That's what is happening. It's not changeable at this moment. So if we can let them hold their part in that just for being there, they will hold it with dignity and they'll be empowered rather than keeping them small and powerless. To say, oh, poor them, they've got no part. Now, I'm not saying choice or autonomy or anything, I'm just saying part. And it's really different. So if we try and put understanding from here into what part means, we'll get really caught up and then it becomes subjective, debatable, controversial. And that's not what this is, because we don't do it up here. But categorically, every time I've witnessed a victim-perpetrator dynamic, healing movement will always come from them both holding their part. So that's why I'm trying to share it's essential to accept that you have a part. You don't need to know what it is. You don't need to try and make sense of it or rationalize it or analyze it or explain it. Just let it be there. I have a part. And that in itself will empower you up from the victim role, because otherwise everything's dependent on someone else. Someone else's choices, someone else's actions, what they're doing to you. And you're stuck. You know, maybe, I'm not saying this is the answer, but for those children that are stuck and being bombed and the horrors that are happening just now, if the perspective is that they really have zero choice, autonomy, or anything in their life, how sad is that for them? How empty? Okay, they can't maybe change the scenario at that point, but should they lose hope of their autonomy and choice? I'm not saying it's action driven, it's inside. They might not be able to get out and go somewhere else, because these are all mind related things of how, that's what Lilia was talking about. If you are manifesting, you don't work out the steps of how it's going to happen. So if you're in a war-torn country that's being bombed, and well, how do I get out? If you sit with that, then it's hopeless. But if you just sit with the part of, oh well, I can if I want to, and this, I'm here, and this is what's happening, and I'm going to hold this situation with acceptance and dignity and belief, self-belief, other than being completely reliant on other external forces for your life. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
So also, you know, I think, I can't remember who said it the other day, but like turning the wound into the teacher in a way, like that, this process, you know, that we're in of like learning the way of turning the wound or, you know, whatever's damaged into the power, like into the empowerment.
Like the gold, fixing the
Yeah, but
valve,
like you were saying, Vida, about like, you know, when someone's gone through so much suffering, they have like a great
Capacity.
understanding and deeper capacity for compassion, for, you know,
Healing
boundaries
others,
and
supporting
all those
others,
things.
and
So in a way, this process, the experiential part of it seems like, you know, a pathway.
to empowerment.
Yeah,
Exactly. And like a lot of the time in the constellations, that's what comes out. It's like, I am this because of what happened to me,
yeah,
not despite
yeah.
despite it. You know, it is
Everyone's got its part.
support. Yeah. Anyway, I don't want to get into like my privilege sitting here saying this is what people in war-torn countries should do. It's not that. I'm just talking about the energetics of any scenario, no matter how trapped and pointless it might seem, is that the energies, it's not the human living situation, it's the energies. If you can both take a part, then a balance comes.
What if you both can't take apart? I understand like you've got to do your own work and release the charge, and it's like there's harm ongoing. Like you can hand the part, you know, decharge it and hand the part over at the other, but if there's still patience is the answer.
It's not, because again, you're coming into the human life part of it. Like, what if they won't? What if they don't? Energetics is that if you accept that you have a part, you'll start to grow out of victim. And if you want to give their part back to them and they won't take it, that's all right. Put it at their feet and leave it there until they're able to take it. It might be in this life or another or never. But the fact is, you're not holding it.
So in the case of parents, like I find that easy to hand it over in love, or in the case of things that are very past tense. In the case of things that are actually really current tense, to hand it over in love without the charge of resentment or aggression or, you know, like, bang, have your part, I've taken my part, done the work, but like this has got to change, and I know it's just impatience, because in theory we've got to wait for healing to happen. You know, wars won't end. It's just a very, very difficult concept. You know, when talking about
But energetically, that is the change. Is literally just letting the rest go, holding this. This is my part, and I will do my part, and that is yours. But waiting for something to change from that is.
It's the only way of it's the only way of having hope. Like I get that, like to do the energetic work, if you all the practical work, and you know, like that is hope itself.
Well, it's actually, but it's if you're doing that work to be attached to an outcome, you're not really doing the work. It's the work is
Maybe that, like the letting go of things being different and attaching to outcomes.
Exactly.
That part is like it's maybe beyond the capacity of digging that deep presently.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, then you've still got your work to do, because I am attached to the outcome. Fucking right, I'm attached to the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong. Same as we said, nothing wrong with being stuck in a victim. Nothing wrong with being attached to the outcome. Nothing wrong with accepting you're at where you're at in the process. And that's the best thing we can do. This is where I'm at, and it's welcome.
And remain peaceful. Like, that's a capacity that.
Well, it's trusting,
happening.
isn't it?
It is faith, trust, and pixie dust.
Trusting that it's all unfolding.
Mm-hmm.
Thy will, not my will.
I know.
That's a challenging bit, let's face it.
I'm utterly challenged by it. Despite the fact that you do see chinks of change and breakthroughs, but then you can go so far and you're like, oh, okay, here it comes, the pieces arriving, the awakening, the consciousness, and then it's like, oh, there's the step back. So to keep going like that, be kicked back, like your energy begins to fade, and it's like I do the energy work and the body work and as much. Okay, not perfect, but I'm on a 65% curve here. That'll do for me. You know, something's got to give. Something's got to give. It's really got to start giving.
Right, let's stand up. Do you want to say something, Frankie? Go
I
on.
was also saying that it's not a linear process. I think we always think it's like the process. I think it's just that you are here, that you are showing up, and without that expectation that it you get that outcome or that it's a linear process. And what comes around just means you're not in the same space, even if sometimes it feels like it. But you're already on a different loop, and you've already have more. And
I can feel, you know, I can feel the huge move yesterday, and I was going to sleep for 16 hours just to let it through.
Yeah.
Wipe out, you know, and I do get it, but it's like, I stood up yesterday, like it doesn't appear like, here we are, it's done, you know, and it's like, oh my gosh, but that is like the repetition of human design. And then I think that's why it is important, because only by doing more of it is change ever possible. Like that, it's just hope itself for me. The other option's not good.
Let's stand up, find a partner. Different partner again. Whoever's going first, take 2 fabrics.
You'll be fine.
Can I just find out if everybody's comfortable?
It's not personal.
Is it not?
No, it's so that the people at home can do it as well.
Right, okay.
Okay, so people at home, you will have 2 things to hold this time, and you're
Guys, can you just keep the noise down? Sorry.
whoever's going first will hold 2 fabrics. The other person 0 fabrics.
I'll 0. So
Oh, but are we choosing?
No, whoever's going first just take 2, the other person none, and then we'll swap. Okay, so people at home, you're gonna, in front of you is gonna be whoever is your perpetrator. Guys, and whoever's in front of you is your perpetrator. Whoever's going first has got 2 fabrics, and the person standing in front of you is your perpetrator. So you're victimized by this person, by their actions, whatever they may be. Does everyone have a partner here? The other one. The cloth holder's the victim.
yeah, do it there.
Okay, so victim, people at home, this is for you to release a scenario. It might be a parent, it might be an abuser, it might be a boss, an ex-partner, and anyone that you still hold a charge with, that you still feel kept smaller than, misheard, misunderstood, or that they're holding a part of you that isn't cleared. Okay, so everyone in the room, just, if you don't have a particular scenario, it can be a politician, it can be it can be somebody that you view as bad, wrong. It's helpful if it's in your own experience, of course. Okay. So just take a deep breath and drop into your body. Feel your own energy field. Notice your stance. Body language is very different this time compared to mother and father. I can see already. Notice how you feel, and then look at your perpetrator, if you can, and you might not be able to. And that's fine, just notice. And if you can, notice what happens when you look at them. Is it easy to keep looking? What happens in your body? Is there contraction? Do you clench? Maybe your jaw clenches. Maybe your fists clench. Maybe your posture changes. Notice what's happening in your cells. Notice if you're squaring up, if you're braced. There might be a lot of love for this perpetrator, which is why they're your perpetrator. There might be hatred. There might be disgust. Notice if you feel smaller than them or bigger than them, or both. Just notice. And perpetrators, just notice what it's like for you in your body. Okay, now these are healing sentences, so don't worry about understanding it all in your head. Just copy what I'm saying and notice how it feels in your body. So tell the perpetrator, it might be past tense or present, you decide. What you've done or what you're doing is not okay. Again. Mhm. And I will let you hold the consequences of that. Perpetrators, notice what's happening in your body. Victims, hold one fabric and show them. These are the consequences of your actions. This is the suffering. This is what it cost me. This is my pain. Perpetrators, notice. Can you see that fabric? Notice what happens in your body when you see it. Victims, tell them, this holds me back. And it's the consequences of your actions. Holding me back. Causing me suffering. And I don't want to carry that anymore. Just notice and double check when you say that. Is that fully true that you don't want to carry that anymore? Victims, look at what you're carrying. Connect with it. And tell the perpetrator, I'll leave this with you. Perpetrator, if you can take it, take it. Victim, hold up the other one. This is my part. This is my responsibility. On some level, this is co-created. Notice what's happening in your body as you say that. Good. So I will take my responsibility,
I will take my responsibility.
and I'll let you take yours.
And I will take yours.
Notice what's happening when I can see all of your bodies. Notice what's happening when you're saying that. And if you can, please look at your part that you're holding. You're good, you're good. Perpetrator, if you can't, don't say it if you can't. If you can see, tell them, I see that. Tell her here. I see where you're holding that. Kerry, is it here? Yeah. Perpetrator, tell her if it's true for you, you're safe to speak. You're safe to be heard. It wasn't your fault. Perpetrator, other perpetrators, if it's true for you, tell them it wasn't your fault. Yeah, good. If it's true for you, tell them, and you didn't deserve that. I'll let perpetrators tell them, I'll let you hold your part. With the dignity you deserve. And I'll hold mine. Okay, and breathe. Is there anyone in this, victim or perpetrator, that is not comfortable to be holding what they're holding? You don't want it? Okay. If it's true, if you don't want to be holding what you're holding, tell, I don't want to hold my part. That's super okay. Or maybe if it's more true to say it's hard for me to hold my part. That's my work to do. And notice what happens when you say that's my work to do. No, you should both be holding apart comfortably. And if you're not comfortable, that's fine. You can speak that. I'm uncomfortable holding my part. And the perpetrator might be. Usually they're not. Okay, just say that's my work. It's still my work to do.
That's my work to do.
If there's any discomfort from anyone at this point, just tell the other one, that's my work to do. And just notice in your own body how that feels. It might actually be liberating, but it might make you feel even more squirmy because you realize you can't blame the other person anymore. Okay. So just take a deep breath. and both tell each other at the same time, I hold my responsibility for my part in this, and I let you hold yours. And breathe. Okay, good. So we'll finish there. You might want to hug your partner. You might want to de-roll and hug your partner as the person in this room so that we can make sure that you're out of the other energies. Yeah. And we're going to swap straight away, and then we can discuss afterwards, because I'm going to let the live people go off. So pick your 2 fabrics and swap around.
Yeah.
I know, it's one too many girls to choose from.
Yeah.
Pay attention. Shake it off. Okay. She at the toilet. Yeah. You're pooing in the corner. Really?
I feel really small now. Are we jogging?
Are we jogging? Okay, so facing your partner, holding both your fabrics. Two fabrics. Okay, and take a deep breath. And notice now what's happening. What's different from the last time? Where's the comfort? Where's the discomfort? Is your stance different? And try to make eye contact. Notice if you can. If you can't, all fine. How is it to look or to not look? Is there expansion, contraction, anger, remorse, blame, clenched jaw, clenched hands, bigger, smaller, powerful, guilty, sad? Okay. And again, use your own tense. Tell them what you've done is not okay. And take a deep breath. Notice what it's like to say that. And for perpetrator, notice what it's like to hear that. What happens in your system. Again, tell them what you've done is not okay. and show them these are the consequences of your actions. This is my suffering. This is the pain it caused me. This is what I lost. This is what made or makes me small. Perpetrator, notice what happens. Notice what changes in your body when you realize this. Can you see what they're holding? If you can, tell them, I see what you're holding. If you can't see, tell them it's hard for me to see what you're holding. Victim, notice how that feels for that to be seen. Again, tell them these are the consequences of your actions. And I don't want to suffer because of that. So I'll leave this with you to hold. Perpetrator, take that. Just notice, victim, how it feels for the perpetrator to take that. Perpetrator, notice what happens in you when you get to hold your part. Maybe it's better, maybe it's not. A victim, hold your second fabric and show them. This is my part. Somehow this was co-created. So I will hold what's mine. And I'll let you hold what's yours. Very nice. And look at what you're holding, victim. Look at it. Look closely at it. And notice what happens in you when you look at your part. That's solely yours. Perpetrator, look at your part. Can you say to each other, we both suffered? In different ways. Wow, look at that. I'll let you hold both to each other. I'll let you hold your part. I'll hold mine. Is anyone uncomfortable holding their part? If you are, just say to the other one, It's hard for me to hold my part. Mhm. That's my work to do.
Can you hold your part but still want revenge?
No, because you're not holding your part. Yeah. Okay, so
Because I see my part, I'm accepting it, but I really still want to go for them.
Okay, so hold your part up in the middle. This is the need for justice
This is the need for justice
that's holding me back.
that is holding me back.
That's my work to do.
That is my work to do.
Take a deep breath.
I trust this justice system more than any other.
Perpetrator in that scenario. Can you see what she's holding?
I can see it.
Yeah. Can you hold your part?
I can hold my part.
Yeah. Okay, tell her. There is no justice.
There is no justice.
Tell her I have to live with the consequences of my actions.
I have to live with the consequences of my actions.
Please do a long life.
That's mine to hold.
This is mine to hold.
That's justice.
That's justice.
Leave it with me.
Leave this with me.